Whoa, fucking do it live! Greetings, friends. It is I, D. Trussell, and you are listening or watching the Doug Trussell Family Hour podcast. You're probably wondering, why is he wearing those incredible sunglasses? The answer! I'm not sponsored by this company, by the way. And you, sweeties, bring me wonderful things at the show. In San Diego, I was given so many cool things. Like sometimes it's just, I don't know what's happening. It's like Christmas. I got this beautiful Ganesh deity. Thank you for that. That will end up on my puja table. I got an incredible vintage 1980s Grateful Dead t-shirt in mint condition. And the gentleman who gave it to me, I told them, I'm going to give you one of my prank call tapes. And I didn't get to see that person after the show, so I owe you a prank call tape. And finally, I got these incredible sunglasses, Rosie's. You could find them at rosies.love, I think. A really sweet note here that I won't read or mention the name of the person. Definitely won't give their phone number out. It would be really fucked up. But thank you for the sunglasses are awesome. I love them. It's wild, man. It makes everything rose-colored, obviously, because they're pink. Now, I got excited when they gave me these sunglasses because, as you know, I am a fan of synchronicity, and I do believe in magic in the real sense. And I was having a fantastic conversation with my Lyft driver on the way to the airport, and we were talking about Chapel Perilous, which, if you don't know, it's something Robert Anton Wilson came up with. Essentially, if you start meditating, praying, practicing magic, doing psychedelics, anything that expands your consciousness, more than likely you will notice an uptick in weird synchronicities. And if you're not prepared for that, you'll freak the fuck out, because sometimes it seems like everything's a synchronicity, and that is the road to a manic fucking episode, which is Chapel Perilous. You just end up like seeing some other level of reality. Maybe you're just seeing the natural symmetry that exists neurologically in your mind. I mean, we have to face the facts, whether you like it or not. You are seeing yourself in the sense that external phenomena gets processed by the senses. The senses instantaneously convert into time, space, and your experience of spatiality, color, smell, sound. And so that's just you. That's some incredible harmonization of your brain goo that you're seeing all around you. And a lot of people don't like to deal with that because it's a little scary to realize that when you've heard someone yammering about the Matrix, you are the Matrix, baby. It's your brain, baby. And you're in it. The simulator is your brain. It's taking all this disparate data that more than likely has something to do with extending its lifespan, which seems to be the genetic goal. Live as long as you can so you can breed, make some babies, and fucking kick the bucket. You're done. Cast off into the abyss like an old stinky pair of socks in a hotel trash can. So, yeah, anyway, maybe that's all you're seeing. It's your mind, so you're just seeing some extra level of your mind. But then these synchronicities are so profound sometimes that you have to ask yourself, well, if it's just external phenomena, the implication in some of these synchronicities is not just that my mind is seeing some pattern, that it's not just confirmation bias. It's not the phenomena where you look up at clouds and you see faces. No, it's not some projection, but the implication would be that somehow your mind is actually harmonizing the phenomena around it, which is the doorway to magical systems. The ability to shift your inner universe in a way that your external universe also begins to shift. So the great synchronicity happened in this Lyft ride. And I will tell you this. If there is some kind of benevolent secret society out there, some kind of counter to the dark Illuminati or whatever the fuck people believe, they drive Lyfts. And I get the best downloads from my Lyft drivers, just out of the blue. They'll just start talking about something that's been bugging me that I haven't mentioned to anybody, and I listen really closely. And I always give them 5 stars. So this guy, he was talking about like all kinds of things, and a lot of them were very synchronous with stuff that I'd been wondering about. But the glasses are another synchronicity, because late at night I'd been scrolling through Reels and I stumbled upon one of the now infinite number of Reels that are conspiracies or just, weird fringe stuff. And I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't care. Actually, you know what? I think it was like YouTube clips. It was YouTube clips, I believe. It doesn't matter. It was, one of the machines with pumping out dopamine extraction phenomena into my brain, and I like it. But this dude was talking about a conspiracy theory that I have heard before, and I have not researched, because I don't care. Again, I'm not fact-checking. I'm not one of those people who cares if there was a historical Jesus. I'm not going to do that. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if there was an actual Apollo, Zeus, Pan, any of these things. I don't care. To me, all that matters is they exist in some liminal space within people's minds at the very least. They're an egregore at the very least. And egregores are incredibly powerful, even though you might not see some physical manifestation of them in time space. Just connecting to the mythological symbol itself can shift your consciousness in wonderful or terrible ways. And I feel the same way about conspiracy theories. It's like, yeah, probably not real, at least not now, or it hasn't happened, but it could happen. And we'll get into that in a second. But this conspiracy theory, whoa, it was super cool. It's something about these, lenses that they were giving soldiers in Vietnam. You've heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fucking kidding? Where
No.
did you hear about this?
Same thing.
Josh, everybody.
They were seeing demons.
Josh Kabaza, who is running Comedy Frequency, which is the podcast studio that I record from. A wonderful man. So go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's a stranger's voice suddenly.
The gunners were shooting at they thought nothing. What do you shoot? And then shoot at also friendly fire. And they're like thinking this person went crazy. It's like, no, I'm seeing like flying demons.
Yeah.
Outside of the helicopter.
Yeah. So I had just watched that before I went to San Diego. And then somebody gave me red glasses. Now, the problem here, I know what you're thinking. It's like, why do you want to see demons? And if you have to ask that, then you haven't been watching the podcast long enough. Seriously, you wouldn't want to see a demon? You wouldn't want to see a UFO or something? But the synchronicity was I had just been watching something about red tinted sunglasses, but the tint, right, was not like whatever the dye they use for this. The tint was some kind of chemical that now you can't even get anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the story. So whatever this weird shit is they were using, and apparently these glasses had some kind of connection to like a Russian scientist or something. Like there's a lot of like lore around these, and I'm sure that story is what inspired one of my favorite movies of all time, They Live, which if you haven't seen it, you must see it. It's amazing. But essentially this dude finds a box of glasses and you put them on, and street signs and billboards suddenly change from Coca-Cola to obey, breathe. Yeah, pull up a pic. That's awesome. And yeah, and he realizes that the planet has been invaded by these like weird interdimensional alien things. And they're using subliminal messages to invoke kind of, I don't know, sheep mentality, and just to make people into these consumerist pieces of shit. And so it's awesome and it's hilarious. It's like so good. Also, you should check out, Zizek. If you've never seen Zizek, he's amazing. He's a philosopher, and he does this incredible breakdown of this famous scene in They Live, which is the dude who found the glasses, who is a famous, I think it's Rowdy Roddy Piper, isn't it? Is that who it is? It's a wrestler who plays the main character.
Let me find out.
Oh, he kills it too. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, Rowdy Roddy Piper plays this guy down on his luck, finds these glasses. I believe he's staying at some kind of like halfway house. He has a friend who thinks he's gone nuts because he's saying, you put these glasses on and you see demons. You see, you know, the reality of the prison that we're in. And he's like, just put them on. Like, don't believe me, put them on. And his friend's like, I'm not wearing those fucking glasses. And they get in the most protracted fist fight. It's like gotta be like a 6-minute fist fight. They're punching each other, just beating the shit out of each other. And finally, he puts the glasses on his friend, and his friend sees, indeed, he was right. It's a 6-minute fist fight, which is for a movie so long. And also, it's like incredibly comedic because we've all been trained for like 2-minute fist fights max. So you're like, it's definitely going to end now. And it doesn't. It goes on and on and on. So Zizek's analysis of this scene is that this is the level of energy you must expend if you want to wake somebody up from the materialist trance that they're in, the trance that They Live was trying to point towards, which is if you have allowed yourself to sort of fall into the hazy, sleepwalking reality, the default reality tunnel, then there's a kind of like sick pleasure in that. There's a sort of hedonic pleasure where you might have some underlying sense that things are amiss, but you override that with the delights that the modern world has to offer you and the distractions the modern world has to offer you. And so anything that seems antithetical to your general sense that you're safe, the world is fine, everything's okay, you will fight tooth and nail against it because some part of you recognizes that should your ignorant bubble get popped, you won't be able to blow it back up again and you'll have to live in the truth. So They Live is so fucking great. And also, what I love about it is instead of just saying something like that, which Zizek does, he's allowed to, he's a fucking philosopher with like maybe the best lisp of all time, to put it into like a sci-fi, cheesy sci-fi movie so that somebody could be watching They Live and have no idea that they're watching a critique of late-stage capitalism and just think they're watching some badass fucking sci-fi movie, but then also the underlying message is very subversive. And that to me is like a victory in any kind of art where you can allow someone in the comfort bubble to enjoy the art, but also somebody who's outside the bubble can like recognize, whoa, wow, they're really saying it. That's what it is. That's fucking cool. Because if you pull that off, then when your art gets co-opted by default reality, which is kind of an inevitability, if you make anything in the world, it will get used to sell shit or to like promote some ideology you might disagree with. And that's like the big controversy that keeps popping up with like the Trump rallies. Trump will play like a Green Day song. The Green Day dude will like have a like mild rage stroke when he sees his fucking punk rock, subversive, angry, fucking howling music is being used by someone who he would probably view as the Antichrist. That's got to give you a real not so good feeling. So, and then they have to tweet about it because otherwise they feel like they are going to be seen as being on the wrong team or something. So, but this is just the natural sort of evolution of anything that goes into the world. Inevitably, it gets suctioned up by something that isn't artistic and has like profit as its main goal. This is just the reality of the world we're living in. So since there's no way to stop that, if you can find a way to create a Trojan horse that you know will get suctioned up by whatever forces you feel like you're fighting against, then wow, now you've done what the Israelis just fucking did with pagers, but with your art. I mean, holy fuck. If you haven't been following the news, I don't know how you missed this, but wow. This is one of the craziest versions of asymmetrical warfare maybe in human history. I don't know anything so weird. I mean, yes, we have the Trojan horse, which is incredible and hilarious that somehow they like were able to wheel a fucking wooden horse up to the walls of a city. And they just like, sure, we'll take it. And then there's soldiers in it. I mean, that's brilliant, but ridiculous. And there's no way that's ever going to work again. It could work. But what the Israelis just did is like, holy fuck. It operates on so many different levels. Because, you know, if you're doing asymmetrical warfare, which these days, like, it used to be asymmetrical warfare was something that was used by the opposing force that didn't have the resources. And this is the Revolutionary War. We took out the fucking British Empire. We didn't take them out, but we won using asymmetrical warfare, guerrilla warfare tactics. And they're like marching in straight lines with their stupid drummer and their flutes. And we're like in the bushes, just blasting them and disappearing. And they're like, these are not gentlemen that are shooting at us. And because like that meant something back then. So asymmetrical warfare, or Genghis Khan, the master of asymmetrical warfare. They're riding on fucking like horses. They don't have armor. They're drinking horse blood. They're not even stopping to rest. And then, you know, these knights come out with their heavy ass armor and they can't do anything because they can't catch them. So asymmetrical warfare. Also, Genghis Khan was a master of propaganda and psychological warfare. I guess psychological warfare more than propaganda. I don't know that the Mongol horde was like doing like posters about how great they are. But what they were doing is they would drive refugees. They would let people survive. They would, you know, go into a village, a town. They would massacre, rape, slaughter, incinerate. But they let some people go. Maim them a little bit, cut off their fingers, whatever. Let them limp off to the next town. So you just be like having a nice picnic or something in the forest outside your town, and all of a sudden just the Walking Dead appears, people sobbing, screaming about how demons are attacking their village. And then you would get scared and fucking run and freak out. And then the Mongol horde would descend on you. So that was one of the ways that they fucked with their enemies, among many. Terror, fear, asymmetrical warfare. But to find a way to get pagers and radios into the pockets of your enemies and then explode them, potentially like castrating them, cutting off their bloodline permanently, definitely like wounding them in a way that they won't recover from for a long time, potentially like blowing like the femoral arteries right there, you know, so causing them to bleed to death, blowing off their face, blowing off their fingers. So that's one level of it, just pure horrific violence. The other level of it is you simultaneously like fuck up their communication network, which is strategically a big win. You know, they already fucked them up because they realized somehow they like could like monitor them if they had cell phones. So they got rid of their cell phones. What's next? Pagers. Then their pagers blow up in their fucking pockets and get rid of their radios. So now they've scrambled their communication lines. Like they have to find a way to communicate whatever their strategy is to respond to this without any kind of modern telecommunication devices. So on that level, it's fucked up. And then, of course, just the psychological warfare, which is, you know, a lot of people are watching the explosions and analyzing them because there's two main possibilities, and we better hope for one over the other, but both do not bode well for humanity. One of them is they put explosives into the pagers, like somehow they got into the supply chain. They injected this. I don't know. I don't know much about explosives, and I never will. But they injected some like very clearly very powerful explosive into the battery of these fucking things, and then found a way to via a phone call cause a chain reaction that blows them up. That's one possibility. That's what you want. That's what we have to hope for. The other possibility is essentially the end of civilization, because at least as we know it. Because the problem is, anytime you do a new weapon, it's great for you short term. You drop your nuclear bomb on a few cities, World War II ends, and you become a superpower. But the moment you demonstrate the technology, all of your enemies are going to just start scrambling to learn how to do that, and eventually that technology could potentially get used against you. That's the problem. Anytime you introduce a new mode of warfare, the warfare will be studied and used against you. And so it works the first time, but it won't work anymore. So if somehow they found some way to cause a lithium ion battery to blow up minus explosives, we're all fucked. Like, you're not going to be able to fly with a phone anymore. Like, not a phone with like a non-removable battery. You would. Did you know that sperm counts are dropping worldwide? If not, I've been counting sperm and the counts are down. Today, the average man is only half as fertile as his grandfather was. His grandfather was a sperm factory. Scientists think it's due to a variety of factors, including the obesity epidemic, diet, pollution. 1 in 10 men have a low sperm count. 1 in 6 couples will experience infertility. 50% of those cases are attributed to sperm. Experts say we're facing a sperm crisis by 2045. It's a good idea for men to test their sperm to see where they stand and to freeze their sperm at its youngest and healthiest. Even if you don't want to have kids in the near future, it's an insurance plan that can enable you to have a healthy family whenever you're ready. They don't want me to read what I'm about to say, but just speculating where technology is going. Friends, who knows what you're going to be able to do with sperm in the year 2030? We don't know. You don't know what you're going to do with all that genetic information. You could easily, well, maybe not easily. There is some small chance probably that you could, turn your sperm into a homunculus. You could like somehow grow the sperm into like a cute sort of lumbering creature that can like do tasks for you, or at the very least be a fun desktop pet. Legacy provides sperm testing and freezing from home, eliminating the need for visits to a doctor or traditional fertility clinic. And I've been to one, friends. For those of you who don't know, I only have one testicle. The other one, cancer took. Well, technically my doctor took it, but yeah, because it had cancer and it had to go. I had to kick it out of the house of my scrotum. And so I've been to one of these clinics, and we need them. I'm sure many of you guys have too, but let me tell you, if you want the most non-erotic masturbation you've ever had in your life, go to a fertility clinic when you're about to have radiation blasted into your surviving testicle. Not fun. Legacy sends a sample collection kit to a client's home. Men produce a semen sample at home and send the kit back within 24 hours. The kit contains transport media that keeps the sperm sample fresh until it arrives at the lab. Then they analyze it and let you know what's happening with your sperm. They use 5 industry standard metrics of sperm quality, the same provided by a traditional fertility clinic, are securely sent to the client's phone within 48 hours of you mailing your little guys. You don't have to feel stressed out. You'll get the results fast. Just think about this, how advanced this is. Like, 200 years ago, the only way you knew if your sperm were doing okay is the taste. And nobody wanted to test their own sperm. Now you can send your sperm to Legacy. It's time to take your future into your own hands. Testing and freezing your youngest, healthiest sperm keeps all your future options open. Legacy offers sperm testing and freezing you can do 100% from home. To see if sperm testing and freezing is right for you, visit givelegacy.com and use promo code Duncan for 10% off. That's GIVE legacy.com, promo code Duncan. Let's freeze our sperm. Thanks, Legacy. You can't put it in your suitcase. I guess theoretically you could turn it off, but I don't think the airlines are going to want to take that risk. And just the amount of time to make sure all phones are turned off, placed in your suitcase. Oh my God. I think TSA is bad now. So that means that all phone manufacturers would have to suddenly release new phones with removable batteries. It's still going to fuck things up. Now, but we're still fucked, even if it's just explosives. Because, I don't know how many people order phones on eBay. I don't know how many people get phones at, pawn shops. But I'm sure it's a lot. And yeah, now that there's some way of doing this, that means that if you wanted to, theoretically, you could flood the secondhand market with explosive fucking phones and just blow them up. And if if you look at what we call terrorism, which is really just asymmetrical warfare, they don't have their goal is not the elimination of a general or something. Their goal is just, freaking out the population. So yeah, that means that down the line, phones are just going to start blowing up in people's pockets, blowing off their dicks. And also it means that for matter of time before this happens on an airplane, matter of time, what if it happens to the pilot? Also, the fact that it's in radios too, it just means that they figured out this new way of getting explosives into things. And yeah, so, and it's definitely going to backfire on them. Honestly, it's aside from that horror of blowing a bunch of people's dicks off, killing kids who picked up their daddy's pager or whatever. If I'm running some terrorist organization, it's almost worth getting my dick blown off, because now it's figure out how they did that. Figure out how they fucking did that. I'm sure if everyone in Israel isn't buying phones from manufacturers, there's got to be secondhand phones in Israel. What's up?
Yeah, there is. It's a Taiwanese manufacturer called Gold Apollo. That there's a switch that was embedded to detonate them remotely, and then the company Gold Apollo said, no, these devices were actually manufactured and sold by Bat Consulting KFT. So they're saying that they were installed previously. So it's not like it was already in the phone.
Bat Consulting?
BAC Consulting.
Oh, BAC. I thought you said Bat Consulting, which is a perfect name for a group figuring out how to take down modern civilization. But yeah, so it doesn't matter. A lot of people are thank God it's implanted explosives. But dude, that's still really bad. No matter what, it's just bad. No matter what. Yeah, sure. Maybe you got your phone at the Verizon store, the Apple store, whatever. But did your Uber driver? Did he get it there? Did the dude driving the city bus, is his phone from the Apple store? Who's to say? And who's to say you couldn't infiltrate the Apple store? Who's to say you couldn't get someone in there to replace the fucking phones? It's a mess. It's a terrible fucking mess. And, but wow, when you look at that, you're getting a real interesting message. Like any like historical event, it functions on a bunch of different levels, and there's always like a fog around it, and it's always weird. And what's cool about that is you can interpret it in ridiculous ways because there's so much unknown there. You could use your brain to pluck out some kind of mystical meaning behind it. You could go Jungian. And so he would talk about the shadow. We've all got one. You've got one. I've got one. The shadow. It's basically all the shit that is just intolerable, like the stuff you do that flies in the face of who you think you are. What was it, Mike? One of my friends who teaches jujitsu was saying, like, if you really want to know somebody, like, hang out with them when they're very tired. Because when you're tired, you don't have the energy to smash the shadow down. And so, a lot of people be like, I'm just grumpy when I'm tired. It's like, well, you are grumpy, but it's not because you're tired. It's because the repressed version of you is more powerful than the part of you that represses it before you have your coffee. And so all the pain and sorrow and fear and suffering just comes vomiting out, and people around you are generally shocked because you've done such a good job of keeping your fucking Godzilla down in the subconscious ocean, and it comes exploding out and freaks everybody out. This is the shadow. Now, because every one of us has a shadow, that means there's a collective shadow. Like if all of us have a shadow, then if you took all of our shadows and threw them together into some kind of arena, then you would have a monstrous thing. And so Jung would say that manifests as like leaders, or it can manifest as events. And so when you consider that the phone, communication technologies are like, at some level, we all know by now, fucking up society. Like everybody knows that. It's great. It's helping. It's helping. It's wonderful. Not knocking it. I'm on YouTube right now. Love it. It's exciting. But also, when you recognize that this isn't all good, that, what's happening with the algorithm weirdly mirrors what the Buddhists say happens when you die, the Tibetan Buddhists at least, which is, here's the story. I've talked about it before, but I love talking about it. So you die. You go into a place called the Bardo. And for a lot of people, this just by itself is shocking because you've like read Richard Dawkins your whole life. Death is the anesthesia that saves us from the pain of life. You're convinced that when your body dies, you're gone forever in infinite nothingness. Just like, who was it? Who was it the guy had to drink hemlock? Was it Plato? It was Socrates. Will you look up who had to drink hemlock? This philosopher had to drink hemlock, and I always forget who it is. Plato. Was it Plato?
Socrates.
Socrates. Can you pull up the Socrates apology? Just look up Socrates apology. It's not a modern apology. I'm sorry that I got my mistress pregnant. It's not that. It's like,
oh no, it's Plato.
I knew. Okay, yeah. See, it's easy to get. But I'm not a philosopher, and I wish I'd spent more time with these people. I can't read it from here, but anyway, you could look it up. It's a great apology. It's a slap in the face, from one of the great philosophers of all time. But essentially, he says, if this like lets me sleep forever, like the deepest sleep I've ever had, then you've given me the greatest gift anyone could possibly give. But if there is another life after this, I'm just going to keep doing the thing that you are making me drink the poison for. So fuck you. You lose either way. And I win. I'm Socrates. So if you've like subscribed to the deepest sleep version of death and suddenly you're dead, but you have a body, not a real body, but some kind of astral body, some awareness field. Oh, you are going to shit your astral pants because like, how is this possible? And it's very scary if you have plugged into no life after death. Very, very scary. And, you're so familiar with a body, having a body, that you want a body real bad. Like you just want to get back into a body because you're freaked out. But this period, will you Google how long do you stay in the bardo? I think it's 29 days, 32 days. I always forget. And don't ask me how they know this, by the way. Like, does someone have a fucking watch in there?
49 days.
49 days. So 49 days you're in the bardo, and you go through an incredible array of bizarre experiences. But one of them is that you start your projections form around you as entities. So, like I'm sorry, I know I've talked about this before, but you wake up in the morning and you just are, everyone's a dick. Like everyone's being just so intolerable and shitty. And you're just like, my God, what is this fucking asshole day? American asshole day? Why is everyone being such a fucking prick? And then like around lunch, you get some food in you, your blood sugar, regulates, and now everyone's nice again. And you realize, it was me. I was just seeing my, bad feelings, and like I ate a donut for breakfast and drank coffee, didn't have water, and I drank vodka last night. And like, instead of recognizing, I just feel like shit, everyone around me is an asshole. So in the bardo, that very same thing happens, except instead of the screen, the projection of your shadow being like the people in your life or events, it actually manifests like in a dream. So now you're confronted by your shadow. And so this would be an easy way to think you were in hell or something if you didn't understand what was going on. It's just a projection. And so essentially, like, depending on like how much you've trained, your karma, most of us, when this starts happening, we just run screaming through the bardo, desperate to find a body. And one of the final things apparently you see, which is so funny, is like a bunch of people fucking. And those are your future parents, and you get turned on by like the way one of them are fucking. You're like, damn, that is hot. I want to get a little closer to that. And then you become a baby. So that's like the reason you're here, is because you like the way your parents fucked. So you're attracted to it. So the algorithm is weirdly similar to the bardo in that your predilections begin to get given back to you via the algorithm. What is it you like? You like gymnastics videos. Okay, here's a bunch of people doing backflips. Oh, you like to watch people pop zits. Oh my God, I've got 60 billion terabytes of this shit. It's all zit popping videos. You like conspiracy theories? Oh, here you go. Check out this story about the glasses that make you see demons. And so it's reflecting back to you your interests and your predilections, and you're seeing your projections, except it's not your projections. It's like what the algorithm thinks you would like to look at. It's like the bardo. It's interesting. So, yeah, when you start thinking about how powerful this technology is, social media, etc., and you start thinking about the symbol of the pager explosion, then what you're looking at is a strange, like, manifestation of this low-level explosion in everybody's pocket that's happening all the fucking time. You're walking around, you finally relax, and your phone buzzes. And like your heartbeat increases because you're like, who the fuck's calling me? Could it be good? Probably not. It's probably some goddamn bank or my car thing, or like something happened to one of my fucking kids, or what could it be? And your cortisol squirts out, and you look at the fucking phone, and it's like, Amber Alert, Amber Alert, Amber Alert, a child in a green sedan has been kidnapped. You're like, fuck, I was just relaxing. So it's not, obviously, I would much rather that than like my dick get blown off. But the other thing about the dick getting blown off, and again, it's fun to overanalyze things, because is is any of this real? Probably not. But when you consider porn, right? Like when you consider porn addiction and the way that like the like human sexuality is being sort of warped by technology, then yeah, are we getting our dicks blown off every time we fucking jerk off to femdom porn? No. But is it like making it so you don't want to fuck as much? Probably. Is it lowering your testosterone? Theoretically. Is it doing some weird shit neurologically to you? Yes. So yeah, you're not getting your dick blown off, but you are getting like sort of like your sex drive deflated. So yeah, as above, so below. When things like this happen, it's like it represents more than just the event itself. And which brings me back to They Live. Recognizing that this like bizarre thing called the algorithm, this sort of like digital manifestation of the demiurge, which if you get into Gnosticism, the demiurge has got us all trapped here, basically. And we've been sort of like confined to a synthetic version of paradise that is inevitably warped because it's not the real thing. And so when you think about that algorithm from that perspective, it's a hypnotic force. It's for sure hypnosis. I mean, when you look at your phone, you're like self-hypnotizing. It soothes you. God, yeah, I just saw this thing about like why not to show your kids screens. And the word they use for it is digital soothing. So when you do digital soothing, you're teaching your kid to calm down via technology. And that is not a good, that will not teach them how to actually calm down. And it's really funny to me when you hear people say, you know, we don't think screens are very good for kids. But like, they're humans, just like us, which means screens are probably just as bad for us, right? Like, it's like something happened to our brains where now we could handle being instantaneously hypnotized by like videos that 30 years ago no one would ever see in a million years unless somebody gave you a snuff film, which hopefully no one would. So this thing that we're all engaged in is a bizarre kind of explosion. And that's where you get into the part where the ones who looked at it blew their face off, blew their fingers off. And if like you analyze that, you know, is technology literally blowing our faces off? No. But what is it doing? Like if we look at the face as something that individuates you, it's your personality, it's who you are, which is why there's the famous Grateful Dead song, steal your face right off your head. I think they're talking about acid. I'm pretty sure they are. So the idea being like LSD just like dissolves your identity and that's your face. So if you consider the way technology is blowing our faces off, which it is in the sense that whatever is your like personality that makes you unique is becoming sort of homogenized via the harmonization with whatever the algorithm is showing you. So if you're into some culture, some way of being, the algorithm starts showing you other people into that way of being. And the more you watch that shit, the more you start becoming like them. And so, yeah, it's like, is it taking your face off or just making your face look like everybody else's? I think it's more like that. It's like, so maybe it doesn't work for the page, whatever the fuck I'm talking about. But here's the point. If you recognize that there's a way to code things that you're putting out online so that it functions on two levels. One level, pure entertainment. It's just fun, it's cool, whatever. But some other level has within it the intent to wake people up, to help people break out of the matrix, baby, to have gnosis, which is what the Gnostics, it's like Gnostic enlightenment. Like it's when you see the truth and instantaneously you enter into the kingdom of heaven. Then wow, that's a fun thing to play around with. I mean, this episode of the DTFH is brought to you by Squarespace, my longest sponsor, and I love them so much because it's time for you to live your dreams. And you're not going to do that if you don't have a cool website. We're way past the time where you could get by with no website. Like, way, way, way past the time. Like the way human beings are way past being monkeys. That's where we're at now. And if you're one of those people out there who feels it, you know you could do it, whatever it is, your t-shirts, your art, whatever the thing is, your podcast, your YouTube video. You got to have a home for it, man. And you got to try Squarespace. Squarespace is incredible. Go to duncantrussell.com. That is proudly a Squarespace website. And when we made that website, they didn't have what they have now. I'm so blown away by where AI is. And when it comes to designing websites, my God, do you understand how powerful Squarespace's new Blueprint AI and SEO tools are? Like, this is insane. Maybe one of the reasons you're hesitating to put a website together is because you know you have to go through all the links, all the pages, come up with whatever the script is you want on every page, all the like unfun stuff that goes into making a website. The AI will do it for you. It'll ask you questions. It'll help you organize the site. Obviously, you can be in as much control or a little control of the project as you want. But the point is, no more like scrutinizing every line for grammatical errors, spelling errors. It's amazing. I tried it and it blew my mind. As someone who from time to time likes to make ridiculous websites, to now be able to do that with AI, it is like going from fission to fusion, baby. It's going from trains to planes. It's going from something to something incredibly more. Friends, I'm telling you, Squarespace, it's like some like technologically evolving Swiss Army knife thing. It just keeps getting better. Every time I go back to Squarespace, they've come up with some new thing. They've made it easier and, most importantly, more creative. You know, that's the crazy thing about web design, is that in the old days, it was like so technical. You just had to code the damn thing. But Squarespace somehow has figured out a way to pull the fun, the artistry, the creativity out of designing a website. And I know maybe you're rolling your eyes when I'm saying that. But if you don't believe me, try them out. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Duncan to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/Duncan. You can try it out for free. When you're ready to launch, use offer code Duncan to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you, Squarespace. I would argue some forms of trolling have within them a spark of like a liberating intent, like something about the trolling, like it's annoying, but like high level trolling, it causes like, it could really knock somebody out of the homogenized sort of like marching in the same rhythm, or I guess now dancing like everybody else with the infinite TikTok dances or whatever. It could like knock them out of it for a second. And that quite often could just be enough. And so, you know, I've heard about this and I'm excited to think that it's true. Apparently, you youngs out there have actually just given up the phone. You're not doing it anymore. You're not falling for the bullshit anymore. You guys are like gathering together in parks and having book groups and stuff and like talking without like a technology to monitor you. And we'll never know who you are. I have no idea who you are. You'll never see this or hear it because you've like cut it off completely. That's fucking cool. And what's really interesting about that possibility is theoretically there's, you and I, we live in the digital sphere right now. I'm a podcaster. You're somebody who like is gathering entertainment from YouTube. And so the assumption that goes along with that is it's representative of some like big population of people. But maybe not. Maybe there's millions and millions of people out there who've just thrown this shit in the trash. You'll never know. You basically live in like alternate timelines, but theoretically they're out there. But when you start thinking about this technology, and don't worry, I'm getting to a point here. You begin to realize that of all the natural resources on planet Earth, oil, water, human attention is the most valuable. Everything is about capturing human attention and collectivizing it in some way. Individually, your attention is incredibly powerful in the sense that if you focus your attention on anything, you'll get better at it. Like if you could figure out a way to practice tap dancing for an hour a day, like in a month, you're definitely going to impress people with your tap dancing skills. It's true for almost anything. Piano, violin, whatever the fuck it is, you're going to get better at it. That's how powerful your attention is. I don't remember what saint said this, but where attention goes, energy flows. So wherever your attention goes, that's what you start turning into, which is why inevitably the most homophobic evangelical who has made an entire ministry based on hating gay people will be found in a hotel room smoking meth with some twink, his face covered with dried twink jizz, his lips chapped and blistered, a wild look in his eye. Where attention goes, energy flows. This person spent days writing sermons about how bad it was to be gay, graphically depicting acts of gay sex. He's like, I need to study it. I need to know what my enemy is doing. And so it's like, I'm going to have to look at gay porn, and that's studying. He's like, his wife would walk in and just see him watching gay porn, glory hole videos. What are you doing? I'm getting my next sermon ready, baby. And like, boom, like before you know it, he's in a hotel room getting banged down or banging down. People look like their dogs, If somebody's really fixated on their dog, I don't know what that is. Or is it that the dog like looks like the person over time, or is it some mixture of both? But wherever your attention goes, that's what you will become, whatever it is. I mean, I believe this must be why Richard Dawkins apparently is now a Christian. Can you look that up? Can you fact check that? Well, maybe not. Maybe keep searching. I really saw something about how he's like gone towards God, but it's the algorithm. It's probably bullshit. Maybe keep scrolling down. If it's not like a top headline, then it's bullshit. Maybe Google, is Richard Dawkins a Christian now?
That's what I Googled.
Oh, okay. Well, that's bullshit. Sorry, Richard Dawkins. Thank you for somehow just by mentioning you logically like destroying what I was talking about, which is your talent. Um, oh,
He,
I don't know.
he identifies as a cultural Christian.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the weeds there. I knew I saw something. Wait, let's see where that's coming from, though.
This is from
Bullshit.edu.
no, it's from a Catholic organization.
I mean, okay, let's pull it up. Like, the source.
Come on, there you go.
What's it say?
The famous British atheist Richard Dawkins, author of the book The God Illusion, said in a recent interview that he identifies as a, quote, cultural Christian and prefers Christianity to Islam, although he clarified that he does not believe a word of the Christian faith.
What the fuck? Well, that's just confusing. Like, what? That's so weird. I don't believe any of it, but I identify culturally as, I guess he just means like, he probably just means sort of the like Anglo-Saxon Protestant sort of like all this.
He says, I love hymns and Christian carols and sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. And I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense.
That's kind of sweet and sad, isn't it?
Hmm.
Well, see, there you go. That's the trajectory. Like if I had to put money on it, and someone should open up a betting pool, at some point he's going full bore Christian. Like it won't be cultural Christian. I don't know for sure about that, but I would guess that's what's going to happen because that's his entire focus is on like proving there's no God. Which means Richard Dawkins, if you're watching this and you're like you consider yourself like a theistic Christian, he probably thinks about God just as much as you do. And which is wild to think about that. He's like fixating all the time on Jesus and God, just in the reverse. But it's going to get you eventually. Eventually, it'll sink in a little bit more than you wanted it to. Because if you are going to try to like argue theistically about something, I feel like, especially for like the activist atheists out there, I feel like you really do need to like do more than just logically try to break it into pieces. I think you need to spend a week like praying and like trying to become a Christian so you can at least understand why it happens to people. But the problem with that is you're not going to come out of that week. You'll probably like never be able to, it'll get you. It'll get you, which is not, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, conversely, probably if you got some profoundly Jesus loving Christian and you like, and they were willing to like force themselves to not believe, at least try to really look into why it's not true. Who knows? Maybe at the end of that, they probably still be a Christian. It doesn't matter. We're talking about some transcendent, mystical fucking thing, whether you want to call it an egregore, a shared reality, or an actual like divine manifestation of the eternal mind. Whatever it is, it's going to get you, baby. It'll get you. That's always been the best thing to me about any of the traditions I like to study is like, you go like, have you ever gotten caught by an undertow? Josh, has that ever happened to you where you go out in the ocean?
Mm-mm.
You go to the ocean a lot?
Not a lot, but I've been out in Gulf of Mexico.
Well, like, sometimes you're just floating out there. It's not even like the ocean seems calm-ish. And then all of a sudden, you look out and the beach is like really far away. You're in or is it called an undertow or riptide?
Riptide.
Undertow yanks you down. Riptide pulls you out. And it happens quick. It's a riptide. It's like some mystical traditions are like that. First they convince you to get off the beach. That's when you just start hearing like the beginning stuff about it. Like, all right, I'll wade in here. What's the big deal? And then you wade in a little bit. And then it's like, why don't you just try, I don't know, floating out here, you know, lift your legs up. And then the next thing you know, it got you. And you're thinking about it all the time. It becomes part of you. That's how it works. And it's beautiful. I love it. And a lot of people, when they start getting pulled out to sea and they start watching the paradigm they've been living in shrinking away in the horizon, they just claw their way back. And then they find a new religion, and then they wait out until they feel the pull, and then they claw their way back in. That's what Chogyam Trungpa called spiritual materialism, which is why he advised adhering, just pick something and go for it. Like, don't keep swimming back to the beach like an asshole. Sucked out to sea and drowned, you bitch. He didn't say, I added that last part to it, but you know, when you start thinking about how,
When did you become Christian?
well, I guess, like when I became Christian, if you want to call it that, and I'll tell you why I have a problem with like the term, was when I took LSD and read the book of John in my dorm room when I was tripping and had this like chain reaction of thoughts that like where I think I felt Christ consciousness, as they call it. But my first thought was, I'm reading it and I'm like, what? Somebody wrote this. I know that seems weird, obvious, but I'm like, somebody wrote this. And then I thought, but look, what consciousness would my mind be in if I wrote something like this? Like, this is not normal human consciousness that produced this series of sentences creating the Gospel of John. This is like some kind of like elevated being who has clearly met another being that did this to him. And he's trying to like put it into words. And then I think right after that, I felt it. I was like, oh, fuck, it's real. It's real. And, but then the way I connect with Jesus and the way I think about Christianity would probably be considered heretical by a lot of other Christians. And I'm fine with that. I don't care. Because I think like with Christianity and with any religion that invites connection with the transcendent, the priest class becomes irrelevant, which is another thing I love about Christianity. Is it's like a direct connection with something. It's kind of like once you connect with a thing, you don't need to like read transcripts of things it said in the past. You know what I mean? Like, in certainly once you connect with a thing, why do you need an interpreter anymore to tell you what it's about? And so the priest class appears, and in the worst case becomes the most nefarious sort of interpreter, which you would never want your interpreter to warp what something was saying to fit an agenda that your interpreter had. That would be awful. And then the interpreter would actually become more powerful than the person you were talking to. And now you're fucked. And so that can happen in hierarchical systems.
Mormons.
Christians. It happens anytime you have like a charismatic, licensed God translator with an agenda who has decided, oh, this is what it means, and then starts warping it to fit some version of it that maybe isn't what it is at all. And to me, the really interesting thing about Christianity is there is this like possibility of direct communion with Jesus. You invite Jesus into your heart. Jesus talks to you, is in you. You feel Jesus. Jesus tells you what to do. And all the great prophets and all the people who had some interaction with the divine, like, there wasn't an interpreter, telling Moses, well, he doesn't actually mean go into Egypt and free the Jews. It's a symbol of something else. Like, definitely don't do that because you have a stutter and there's no fucking way you're going to march into like an empire and have anything, nothing will happen. So you're taking it literally. Don't do that. Like, let's pick it apart here. It's got to mean something else. It's never like that. It's like direct communication demanding some action that seems insane. There's no one there to fuck it up. So I think that's where I sort of veer away from some forms of Christianity, which like to have the interpreter there to sort of direct and guide. And sometimes that's good. I mean, it's nice to have someone to run shit by. It's just, it's like that Mark Twain quote I always fucking say. Religion is what happened when the first con man met the first fool. And you know what I mean? Like, if I can convince you that I have a direct line to God more than you, and then convince you to give me 10% of your yearly earnings if you want that line, that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much is broadband? Like, it's like $30 a month to get like pretty good Wi-Fi now. It's like the idea you're going to give 10% of your income to like an organized group because that is theoretically representing a religion that has built inside of it the idea that you don't need a priest class anymore. It just seems a little paradoxical to me, So that's probably why, that's why I hesitate, because I don't know if that makes me a Christian necessarily, or like something like the opposite. Anyway, praise Jesus. Do you love Jesus Christ? But I also love Odin. What am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? How do I make those two things work? I love Krishna, Ganesh, and like I love so many different entities and like symbols of eternity that like I don't think I'm allowed to do that from the classical Christian perspective, right?
Mm-mm.
No. So that's where I'm not allowed in, because it's like this is a monogamous sort of relationship you're supposed to have.
Well, if you switch it to saints, if you're Catholic, that's cool. Like you can pray to saints instead of,
Right. You can pray to saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then what if but it's got to be Catholic saints.
Correct.
So yeah, like all the other saints, it's just like, sorry, I've met someone, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. I can only like pray to prescribed saints. It's so, I can't do it, man. I can't do it and I won't. Yeah, but if you start realizing how your attention is very valuable, it's got a real price on it. For real. I mean, it's so valuable. Like you're using Gmail, all the data that they're selling. I think they're still doing that. When you look at like Instagram, TikTok, like how much money they're making from collectivizing human attention, and like what happens when you grab someone's attention is so wild. When you hypnotize somebody, it's like when you take mushrooms, your eyes dilate. When you get hypnotized by technology, you kind of relax. You're feeling open and good, and it's like you're getting a little wet. You're like a nice, like moist, misted pussy, ready for penetration. And that's when the commercial comes. Bam! That's when you're like watching a commercial, like while you're all opened up, all soft and relaxed. That's what it's like. Do you realize if you don't do this, you will fucking die? And so you just gets like through all of the normal like defense mechanisms any salesman has to overcome. The salesman sits with you. He asks you, what's your favorite island in Hawaii? Oh, I love Maui. You're thinking about Maui. Oh, you're kind of relaxing. And then he's like, let me show you. Have you seen the new Mercedes? whatever the fuck, you're all fucking thinking about Hawaii, and now you see a Mercedes, and now he's gotten that feeling of Hawaii to lock onto the Mercedes. Oh yeah, right. Like if I buy this fucking Mercedes and get massively in debt, it'll be like every day I'll be in Hawaii. You're not thinking that, but that underneath it, that's what they're going for. I can't remember the name of that psychological effect, but it's brutal. Which brings me to what's inspired this ramble you're hearing today. And if anybody, and I don't think I will be succinct enough to make this clippable, but I'm going to try. And if anybody out there wants to try to make a clip of this, feel free. If it's good enough, it probably won't be. I didn't write it down, and I don't know how to to write down in an organized way what I want to talk about. I just have some kind of vague, mushy idea of it. But here's what happened to me today. This is what got me thinking about human attention. I'm driving to the gym, and I'm too lazy to pull up an album I like. So I went on iTunes Music, and they have playlists. And the first one I saw was indie something playlist, like modern indie music. So I'm like, sure, whatever. Let's see what modern indie music sounds like. And I'm listening to it. And I don't know why, but I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling like cringed out or something. And at first I'm like, I guess this music sucks. And then I realized, oh no. What's happening is this playlist is the popular indie music right now, and it's what people are using as soundtracks for their fucking reels. I've been watching reels with this music in the background. I've been watching women in sundresses drinking their menstrual blood underneath a sunset. I've been watching pregnant hippies giving birth in muddy creeks to this music. I've been watching men's groups in Costa Rica where men are sobbing and hugging other muscular men to this music. I've been watching gender reveal, baby clips. I've been watching grieving mothers sitting at their child's grave, weeping, but not so overcome with grief they couldn't set up a fucking tripod. I've been watching this to this music, and now the two have become inextricably paired in my brain, meaning I cannot look at this music critically because my brain has just been yeah, this is what they play when a group of muscular dudes are cuddling together at an ayahuasca retreat designed to eliminate toxic masculinity. So now I can't enjoy the music. Now, this used to be an inevitability if you made great music. Your song would become a hit. And then, over time, maybe you got in trouble with the IRS, maybe you died, maybe you got into a shitty record contract and you didn't even own the music. But eventually, the song that inspired people would end up on a car commercial. And that's it. It's done. That's the life of your song. It's dead now. It died. It's in the corporate graveyard. And that's the final death rattle of a great song. This episode of the DTFH has been brought to you by Reunion. Yeah, sure, you could take a nice vacation in Las Vegas. You could slurp back vodka sodas, play Frankenstein slots, go to a strip club, and at the end of that vacation, you're going to wish you could time travel and not do that. Why did you do that? It's a honey trap for fools. Or you could go to Reunion in Costa Rica and have a 7-day all-inclusive psilocybin or ayahuasca retreat that combines ancient indigenous wisdom with the neuroscience of change to help you transform your life. And they're the real deal, friends. They're the real deal. This is not some thrown together operation in Pasadena. This is the real thing. How lucky are we that this even exists? Their highly experienced facilitation team has a wealth of medical, therapeutic, and shamanic experience. They keep the group small to ensure everyone has personalized support. That's a huge concern of mine going to these things. I don't want to be in a 70-person, 200-person ayahuasca group listening to 200 people vomit and scream. No thanks. But for a neurotic like me, the other thing that is attractive about this is that they actually have an on-site licensed medical clinic, a complete intake process, and a 24/7 safety team. I'm telling you, knowing that I could swim out into the deepest waters of consciousness, and if I needed to, go to a medical clinic, that's going to take away a lot of the edge. Gotta try this. Reunion is driven by purpose, not profit. Their not-for-profit model allows them to offer you a life-changing experience with all the modern comforts at a more affordable price. Ignite your best life at the safest plant medicine center on the planet, supported by profoundly caring and purpose-driven people. And one of my dearest friends actually talked to the person running Reunion and said, he's the sweetest person of all time. Go to reunionexperience.org to book a discovery call, secure your spot, and learn more about plant medicine. And for our listeners, use the code Duncan during registration to save $250 off your plant medicine retreat at reunionexperience.org. Thank you, Reunion. When Nick Drake's Pink Moon ended up on a Volkswagen commercial. I don't know why I remember this, but I just always think back to it. Now, Nick Drake, if you don't know who he is, British folk singer struggling with depression. And if you listen to all of his albums, if you listen to his body of work, you see a trajectory of despair. It's really fucked up. You see him getting increasingly isolated, increasingly depressed, but he was cursed with a beautiful voice. He could play guitar, and somehow he was alchemizing his despair into beautiful music, which produces that horrific relationship with a fandom where at some level they know if you get happy, your music's going to suck. So they kind of want you to be depressed. And he killed himself. Now, one of these disturbing songs that he sang among many, and I don't mean disturbing like, I don't know, Slayer or something. I mean disturbing in like an existential sense, where if you've ever felt really lonely or isolated, it will resonate with that part of you. And maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. But like anyone who's been at a liberal arts college like I went to has like just cried in your dorm room listening to Nick Drake because your girlfriend sucked off that cute guy with skateboard in front of the cafeteria. Put on some fucking Nick Drake and mourn. So I just remember Volkswagen commercial comes on. It's fucking Nick Drake, Pink Moon. Now, if you listen to Pink Moon, I'll try to remember the lyrics. I heard it, I saw it written, and I saw it say, Pink Moon is on its way. And all of you who stand so tall, Pink Moon, gonna get you all. The pink moon is the bloody moon in the book of Revelations. This is the anger phase of depression. You motherfucking normies, fuck you. All you fucking puffed up normies, you will see the blood moon. That's the song being sung from this like beautiful vocalist who's like going to kill himself, and maybe when he's singing it knows that. And someone at Volkswagen heard that and was like, dude, we can sell cars with this. And so the commercial, as I recall, is Too Cool for the Party. It's these two beautiful couple they're at kind of a rowdy party, and they're just like, let's get out of here. And they get in their Volkswagen, Pink Moon is playing, and I don't know, they drive somewhere to fuck or whatever. But, and I don't know if the ad exec that made that was like trying to say that like reality or default reality is like a loud party, and that suicide, like what Nick Drake did, is just leaving the party or something dark like that. In this case, the Volkswagen becomes like Karen's boat that carries you across the river Styx. I don't know if that's what he meant, but that's what it looks like. Just the exact interpretation you would expect the demiurge to do of great art. And it is fucked up, baby. It is fucked up. But now, it isn't, if you make great music, it's going to take years for that shit to end up in a commercial. Now, because the streaming services are barely paying you for what you're making, you got to get that on a reel. If your fucking folk song ends up on a reel, oh my God, that is like the modern like hit on the radio, I guess. So you want that. You might not like it, but if suddenly some fucking video of a mom giving herself like an enema made of like smashed scorpions has your song on it, then that's a good thing. And so this is what I'm talking about. The bomb in the pocket. If you really think about art as a revolutionary device and realize that technology is grabbing it and pairing it neurologically in people's brains with like the worst videos you've ever seen of all time. I don't mean like Ukrainian drone footage. I just mean like, sentimental, sappy, shitty fucking advice coming to you from a symmetrical woman in Tulum. That's what I mean. And that waters down the art in horrible ways. It's a terrible price to pay. I knew this would be too long to clip. To summarize, for the clip, if you're making great music right now, what is happening is your great music is being used by women in sundresses, drinking their menstrual blood, hippies giving birth in muddy creeks, symmetrical men's groups hugging each other in Costa Rica during ayahuasca retreats, and various other fucked up reels that should never exist anyway, but do as some kind of spark of the Antichrist emerging into time. Meaning that if someone listens to your music after seeing the reel of, I don't know, like some dude like doing eye gazing with a woman at a music festival, and like the suggestion that this will heal your relationship or whatever, if they encounter your music in the wild, they're just going to think about how hard their buttholes puckered with an almost seizure level cringe. Thus, your music is tainted. But I get it, man. It's tough to be a musician these days. Anyway, recognize, my children, your attention is valuable. It is. And understand that we're all pouring our attention into the modern day technological aqueduct of social media. It's being funneled. And the combination of all of our attentions are forming what we call default reality, meaning that we're not going to change internet addiction. It's over. We are all junkies hooked on the internet. But just maybe some of you out there figure out a way to start getting the algorithm to grab things that are even slightly subversive that might end up on someone's reel, music, whatever it is. Then you have done humanity a great service. And in closing, I would like to say that this is why I am attempting to destroy Mr. Beast. Not physically, not in a violent way. I don't mean it like that at all. I wish him well, and I think he's probably a really nice guy. So I don't mean literally destroy. I mean, I want to exceed his download numbers. Why, you ask? Well, because if we can collectivize our energy in the form of watching the DTFH, getting my subscribers up, hitting his download numbers, then I will have like an ocean of collectivized energy that I will alchemize into the resources necessary to buy the Great Pyramid of Giza, remove the capstone, fill it up with Mentos, and pour Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of Diet Coke into that pyramid, causing a chemical chain reaction that will blow up the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's no different than like when you were a kid and you took a magnifying glass and set leaves on fire. Only in this case, the magnifying glass is YouTube. And your attention is the sun. And the leaf is the Great Pyramid of fucking Giza, which we are going to blow up. No more. And my theory is that world peace will happen almost directly after that, because I'm pretty sure the fucking pyramid is causing all the problems everywhere. Has anyone even thought of that? It's weird. It just fucking sits out there. What does it do? People hump on it. No one knows what it is. Everyone gets like so entranced by it. Let's get rid of it. Let's grow up. No more Great Pyramid. And finally, I will challenge Mr. Beast to a Jenga competition using the Stonehenge megalithic blocks. We'll get cranes out there, and whoever causes them to topple has to destroy their YouTube channel. And I've been practicing Jenga. Mr. Beast, I've been practicing. He sent me chocolate. I'm not, I know this is redundant. I've said this a million times, but the last thing is he did send me chocolate, a box of chocolate. Someone from his team reached out and they sent me a delicious box of chocolate. Theoretically, I didn't eat it. Why? Because I have diabetes. Diabetes! I'd announced it. Then not long after my diabetes announcement, who reaches out? Someone from Mr. B's team. Want a box of chocolate? It was a trap. Brilliant. It was brilliant. And again, I feel like a dick. Like I should say, one of my friends said it's the best chocolate he ever had. I'm not sponsored by Mr. Beast. Truly. I didn't eat it. Team of scientists made it or some bullshit. This is not a commercial. I just feel like a dick because he did send me a box of chocolate. My friend said it's good. I don't know. My friend said he fell asleep eating it. Woke up with chocolate all over his chest. So it's probably, who knows, man? Who knows what's in it? You know? What happened while he was asleep? Don't know. Easily could have been abducted by some fucking Mr. Beast like drone. You realize how much money he makes every month? You could definitely have an invisible drone that kidnaps people who've fallen asleep from like whatever's in your chocolate. Remove their organs. Whatever, I don't know. Animate them, make them be in one of your YouTube clips. Maybe some of the people in his YouTube clips are just abductees who ate his chocolate and got knocked out and abducted by a drone that like reanimated their sleeping bodies and made them like run around a grocery store for a week. How much does he make?
$3 million a month. That was
$3 million a month!
That was back in 2021, though.
In 2021! You realize, like, if we had those resources, friends, easily could blow up the Pyramid of Giza. Everything has a price, and I promise you, if we can accrue enough wealth, we can buy that motherfucker, and you'll all be invited. It's going to be the new Fire Festival. We're going to blow it up, and let me show you where we're at. Can you show me what our subscribers are at now?
98.4.
98.4. Now, based on the calculations of the physicist I have on my team, we're doing good. We've had an exponential growth in subscribers, but it will take us approximately 400 years to get to half of Mr. Beast's subscribers. What's he at right now?
50 million. $316 million.
What are we at again?
98.4.
1,000.
Yes.
So that's 400 years. And I don't have that much time, man. I'm 50. So you guys have to get pumping on this thing. And I'm so grateful to you who click the subscribe button. I'm embarrassed that I have to do the thing everyone does on YouTube. But you know who else was embarrassed? George Washington. You know who else was embarrassed? Who's somebody who did something good, Josh?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. So somebody else. Who's like a great world leader?
Klaus Schwab.
Schwab. Somebody who's making the world a much better fucking place. I'm sure he felt embarrassed when he said people should eat bugs. But he had a higher calling. He knew the path for. I can't believe you just mentioned Bill Gates. Who the fuck are you, John? That's awesome. Oh, I love you. Listen, we got to get moving here, guys. You're going to have to start going door to door, and I mean that. Also, for those of you, just click the subscribe button. It's a meaningless fucking thing. Just click it. Yeah, you're going to get announcements anytime one of my videos goes up, but ignore them like I ignore all the other fucking channels I subscribe to. Who cares? Point is, I need that symbol. I need that 100K. If I can hit that 100K, they send me a fucking plaque. And that plaque, I don't know why I want it, but it's something. And it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone towards world peace, and you're all a part of it. We are going to blow up the Great Pyramid of Giza. Just click subscribe, and as you click, just imagine what that's going to look like. Imagine the sound of the massive amounts of Diet Coke pouring onto the Mentos, that first rush of foam, the rumbling sound. You'll feel it in the sand, my physicist told me. It'll vibrate like those thumpers in Dune. You'll feel a vibration. And then the sound of an ancient megalithic structure blowing up into pieces. All of those fucking bricks flying in the air, probably unidentified mummies flying in the air. Who knows what else? Lizards, Cthulhu creatures, tentacled beings, the Library of Alexandria, gone. And all that will remain is that beautiful, pristine desert and temporary pools of Mentos and Diet Coke, which you will be allowed to enjoy, because then we'll open up the gates that we have to set up, because they told me the blast radius, it's actually tremendous, and like you would die if you got too close to it. So we're going to open up the gates. You go in there, you can slurp up the puddles of Diet Coke, you can eat those Mentos, and with the money that we generate from that event, we are going to have a contest where we take 3 diabetics and we're going to put them in a hedge maze. And whoever gets to the center of the hedge maze first gets a lifetime worth of insulin. The other 2 are fucked. Join me. And thank you for watching this long thing. If you made it through the whole thing, I salute you. I'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.